Hello, students. Today we are going to learn about Preludes by T.S. Eliot. It is there in our BA final year syllabus. So, Preludes is one of the prominent work of Eliot, written in 1910 and 11. The then society of Eliot is presented as a wasteland where corruption and desolation are dominant in the cycle of meaningless life. The title of the poem holds a special position in terms of analysis. Prelude means an introduction to something, to be specific. In a musical sense, it is a small composition that is played before the main piece of music. In that sense, preludes is just a small window view of the characteristics of the empty society we are shown. In reality, the actual society we live in is a terrible place. Preludes is very effective of Eliot's poems and makes an important contribution to Eliot's development from Prufrock to the Wasteland. Eliot is learning economy, vividness, and the value of impersonality and changes of vision. The mood and tone are vital. These constitute what the poem communicates, and every part of the poem is intended to concentrate to overall impressions of sordid hopelessness, shabbiness, and disenchantment. The gentle comedy of Prufrock is gone. Instead of that, there is a minor key poem, an elegy of haunting, tragic intensity, made all the more touching by Eliot's final rejection of his own pity. Eliot pursues a technique he was very fond of, technique of conveying the dehumanization by fragmenting the human elements of his poem into parts of the body, muddy feet and hands. Here, the soles of the feet and palms of both soiled hands, insistent feet, fingers and eyes. You can, see that these uh, he actually uses parts of body in his poem. In this way, no complete human soul or human body emerges. All is as mechanical and as dislocated as the action of a robot. It is Eliot's comment in certain moods on human behavior. The technique is greatly developed and expanded in the wasteland. The preludes may appear to be imagistic representations of urban life recorded without comment, but the objectivity and detachment are illusory. It is difficult to separate the objects of perception from the perceiving consciousness. The lonely cab horse, the lighting of the lamps, the masquerades that time resumes are imbued with the emotions of the observer. It is the observer who thinks of weary monotony and sameness of all the hands raising dingy shades and perceives human beings as dismembered parts of the body. The muddy feet, the hands, the short square fingers, the eyes assured of certain certainties. The fragmentation is a negation of individual identity. There is a greater complexity of tone and feeling in preludes third and fourth than in first and second. The you of the third prelude, who has such a vision of the street as the street hardly understands, may be a street walker from Philip, Mary Denadu. The reader is not given an objective rendering of her perceptions. However, the images are attributed to her consciousness by controlling voices of the poem. The mind of the you is remorselessly contemplating its own processes and projecting them outwards in the guise of a woman's consciousness. There is a sharper distinction between the perceiving consciousness and the objects of perception in this prelude than in first and second. Between the persona's vision of the street and the street itself, the notion of the soul constituted of a thousand sordid images is a denial of any spiritual dimensions to the self. The opening lines of the fourth prelude are reminiscent of the evening spread out like a patient etherized upon a table in Prufrock. The concept of the soul here is rather different from that in the third prelude. There is a sensation of acute pain and suffering in its being wrecked across the skies and on the street. There are religious overtones in the lines, the conscience of a blackened street, impatient to assume the world. Blackness implies a sense of sin and conscience of moral discrimination and responsibility. The distinction between subject and object is again blurred. Whose conscience is it? that of the street or of the perceiving self. At this point, the poetic voice speaks directly for the first time and admit that it is not detached and impassive. There is a there is a knot of compassion and a tentative movement towards religious belief. The notion of some infinitely gentle, infinitely suffering thing is perhaps a compassionate perception of the suffering inherent in the images around which the poet's fancies are curled. And in the souls constituted by these images, it is a reminder also of the sufferings of a Christ to redeem the sins of, of humanity. However, there is a change of tone. Said the religious vision is sardonically brushed aside, it is not entirely obliterated through, though the cynicism perhaps conceals a nostalgia and a wistfulness for an absent ideal. The typographical space emphasizes the gap between the ideal and the actual. Thank you so much, students. So, this was the video for BA final year students. Thank you.